Good morning, listeners of Hot Topic and Fresh News. Today is December 13th, 2024. Let's dive into the most pressing news. Over the weekend, while President-elect Donald Trump visited the newly restored Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris, significant changes unfolded in Syria. The Assad regime has fallen, with armed Islamist fighters finalizing their control over Damascus. President-elect Trump asserts that Syria is not our fight, emphasizing that the United States should steer clear of further involvement. This stance raises questions about the future of U.S. foreign policy and the presence of American troops. Meanwhile, the current administration is engaged in intense diplomacy to manage the aftermath, with Secretary of State Antony Blinken seeking regional support for conditions on recognizing a new Syrian government. These conditions include transparency, inclusivity, and the dismantling of chemical weapons. Trump's nominee for National Security Advisor, Mike Waltz, underscores the mandate to avoid new Middle Eastern wars, focusing instead on addressing the remnants of ISIS and supporting key allies like Israel. Stay tuned as we continue to unpack these developments. Hey everyone! You already know me, this is Emily.
And this is David.
Happy to have you with us here on Hot Topic and Fresh News. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. Straight to the hot topics.
So, with Trump's declaration that Syria is not our fight, how realistic is it for the U.S. to truly stay out of this conflict?
It's quite challenging. The situation in Syria is deeply intertwined with regional and global powers, and the fall of Assad's regime could have wide-ranging implications.
What do you think are the key differences between Trump's policy and Biden's regarding Syria?
Trump's approach is non-interventionist, focusing on avoiding new Middle Eastern conflicts, whereas Biden's administration has been actively involved in diplomatic efforts to manage the situation.
Given that Assad's government has fallen, do you see the current administration's diplomatic efforts having any lasting impact before Trump takes over?
There's a possibility, but with only 5 weeks left, the effectiveness of these efforts might be limited. However, setting conditions for recognizing a new Syrian government could lay some groundwork.
What are the implications for U.S. troops in the region?
If Trump follows through on his stance, we might see withdrawal plans. However, the presence of U.S. troops might be necessary to ensure stability and protect certain interests.
How does Trump's non-involvement stance align with Mike Waltz's view as his nominee for National Security Advisor?
Waltz emphasizes avoiding more Middle Eastern wars, which aligns with Trump's mandate. However, balancing this with maintaining regional stability will be the key challenge.
How does Trump's focus on America's core interests in Syria shape his broader regional strategy?
His strategy centers on containing the Islamic State, securing Israel's safety, and supporting Gulf allies. The ultimate goal is to normalize relations between Israel and Saudi Arabia, which he sees as a way to isolate Iran.
Considering Trump's rhetoric about Syria, do you think his approach will change now?
While Trump has often minimized Syria's importance, the ground realities and input from his team, many of whom are more concerned with counterterrorism, could moderate his stance.
What's the current role of U.S. troops in Syria, and how might that change under Trump's policy?
The troops are mainly there to counter the Islamic State and support the Syrian Democratic Forces. They also help block Iran's weapon routes. If Trump shifts toward non-involvement, their presence might be reevaluated.
How significant is Marco Rubio's nomination for Secretary of State in shaping Trump's Middle East policy?
Rubio is a serious foreign policy player, which suggests that Trump's administration may take a more strategic approach toward the Middle East than his past isolationist rhetoric might indicate.
Could Trump's isolationist instincts impact the U.S.'s strategic interests in the Middle East?
Yes, but the influence of seasoned advisors may ensure that strategic interests are still protected, even if his instincts favor non-intervention.
Given Trump's past actions like launching missiles in response to Syria's chemical attacks, how consistent is his non-interventionist stance?
His stance is not absolute. While he prefers non-intervention, he has shown a willingness to act decisively if he perceives a threat, as seen with the missile strikes and sanctions.
How does Tulsi Gabbard's nomination as Director of National Intelligence affect Trump's foreign policy approach, considering her past comments on Syria and Russia?
Her nomination is controversial due to her past criticisms of Trump's policies and alleged sympathies towards Assad and Russia. It could lead to tensions within his administration and increased scrutiny from senators.
With both Biden and Trump wanting a Syrian government amenable to U.S. interests, where do their policies most diverge?
The major difference lies in their approaches to U.S. forces on the ground and support for the Syrian Democratic Forces. Trump's stance raises concerns about the security and stability of U.S. interests in the region. Personally, I think that despite the challenges, maintaining a U.S. presence in Syria is crucial for preventing further instability in the region. The risks of withdrawal could outweigh the benefits.
But isn't there a significant risk of dragging the U.S. into another prolonged conflict?
That's a valid concern, but a strategic presence doesn't mean engaging in a full-scale conflict. It's about safeguarding regional stability and supporting allies like the Syrian Democratic Forces.
I see your point. I apologize for my earlier skepticism. It's a delicate balance between involvement and restraint. With Biden's historical connection to the Kurds, how will the U.S. approach differ under Trump concerning Kurdish allies in the region?
Biden has a personal bond with the Kurds, which influences his policies. Trump's approach might lean towards a more transactional relationship, potentially prioritizing negotiations with Turkey over Kurdish concerns.
How might Trump's relationship with Erdogan impact his decisions regarding U.S. troops and the SDF?
Trump's close ties with Erdogan could lead to compromises that favor Turkey, possibly at the expense of the SDF. This could mean a withdrawal of U.S. troops in exchange for stronger Turkish influence in strategic areas.
Is there a risk in allowing Turkish-backed groups to gain more control in Syria?
Absolutely. It's a concern shared by experts like Wael al-Zayat. The worry is that fragmenting control could lead to instability and undermine any cohesive political process in Syria.
How likely is it that Trump's administration will execute a well-planned withdrawal from Syria?
According to Bassam Barabandi, if Trump proceeds with a withdrawal, it will be gradual and planned, unlike the rushed exit from Afghanistan. He suggests a timeline and strategy will be in place to minimize chaos. However, the effectiveness of this plan remains to be seen. Thanks for tuning into Hot Topic and Fresh News today. We've covered some intriguing topics about the evolving dynamics in the Middle East. It's always a pleasure to have you with us. Remember to subscribe and hit that notification bell to stay updated with our latest episodes. Sharing our content with your friends and family also helps spread the word. If you have any thoughts or feedback, drop us a comment.
And don't forget, we're here every day with fresh content just for you. There's always something new on the horizon, so keep an eye out.
We're grateful for your support and can't wait to catch you in the next episode.
Stay in the loop, keep your eyes on the news, our channel's content will amuse.